We're going to go to Leon Compton. He's on the tally room floor and he's with the MLC, Meg Webb.
I am indeed, Sabra. Thank you very much. Down on the tally room floor as it starts to fill up with people around me. Maybe a quarter of the 350 seats or so down here are starting to fill with punters as they come in. Meg Webb was elected to the Legislative Council in the seat of Nelson 2 years ago on a very strong position on the harm done by poker machines in the community, as well as a range of other issues. She joins me from the tally room floor this evening. Meg Webb, good evening to you.
Hi, Leon.
So we're listening to Anthony Green do the analysis. 10% of the vote counted. It seems possible, but not guaranteed, that the Liberals will find the 13 seats that they were seeking. How do you interpret that information?
Well, look, I think having seen this government in pure political self-interest take us to an election a year early and pull out all the stops to give themselves every advantage to win, if we see this government hold on to the position they have or even maybe go back a little bit, I think we have to count that as a loss. We have to see that as the Tasmanian people saying, actually, we don't accept this sort of politically expedient action by a government of the day trying to advantage themselves, and they've actually given the government a bit of a slap if we see a backward step.
Let's talk about the Legislative Council. You sit, of course, amongst 14 others in the 15-seat upper house. 2 of those seats are up tonight, and what we've seen is something never before tried, which is a government going to an election on the same date as votes for 2 Legislative Council seats. Are you seeing evidence the Liberal Party have been advantaged by that, as some were speculating?
I think that's absolutely what we've seen. The party-aligned candidates have been thoroughly advantaged by having the 2 elections held on the same day. As you said, it's historically absolutely a first. We have never aligned those election cycles before, for good reason. We have our upper house election cycle arranged differently. We have different rules for those elections, and the whole purpose is to have a level playing field so that independents can compete against party-aligned candidates in a fair and free way, and the Tasmanian people can maintain the function and role of the upper house. What we're seeing today, if we see particularly the independent seat of Windermere go to a party-aligned candidate, that's a real backward step for the functioning of our parliament.
Do you also think it might raise a legal challenge to that result, given that in Tasmania you have about $17,000 as an upper house member to fund your entire campaign, from advertising to core flutes to anything else that you might do, but being rolled in with the state election campaign, it means you get that sort of uplift from your Liberal Party advertising. Do you think this may spawn a legal challenge?
Look, I think absolutely there are enormous questions to be asked about the legality of having these 2 elections held on the same day and the implications that has for breaches of the Electoral Act when it comes to upper house expenditure by party-aligned candidates. We will, I think, see questions asked perhaps through the courts if the election goes by the way of a party-aligned candidate winning Windermere.
Meg Webb, a final question for you this evening. It's the question that the government wouldn't answer. I asked Peter Gutwin this 5 times. Sabra asked him only a couple of days ago on AM. What is the rate that you will charge the biggest owner of poker machines in Tasmania, the tax rate into the future if elected? That's legislation Parliament is yet to see and will come before you at some point in the future. How will you be handling that as a Legislative Councillor?
Well, we've absolutely got a process in place where that legislation must come through both houses of Parliament. And as an upper house member, I will be looking at that legislation incredibly carefully, as you can imagine, Leon. We have a duty to ensure that all legislation is robust and in the best interests of the Tasmanian people. So that's exactly what will be happening as it comes through the upper house. All of us, I would hope, will be examining that legislation. It's entirely unacceptable that the Premier has been disingenuous in not divulging what the casino pokies tax rate will be before this election. There is absolutely a deal in play here. There's no way the government doesn't know what that rate is. Either they don't know and therefore they actually haven't completed their policy, or they do know and they've kept it secret. Either way, unacceptable. We actually deserved to know that before we went to this election.
Thank you, Meg Webb.
Thanks, Leon.